Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to the Mental Dojo with yours truly, Dennis Procopio. I'm a life coach for men. I own Man Up Life Coaching in San Diego, California. I work with dudes here in the United States and internationally, talking about guy stuff, guy problems, things that are on your mind, things that are on your heart. And today we're going to be talking about yet another grueling, uncomfortable, awkward bro topic. So join me inside. I promise it will not disappoint. See you there. Okay, we're here in the Mental Dojo with my fellow Man Up Life Coaching coach in training, Faisal. Sheikh. Hi, Faisal.
Hi.
All right, Faisal.
Nice to be in this environment now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so previously...
It's my first time over here, that's why.
Over here, right, but you brought the green with you. Previously, we were doing hours and hours and hours in a virtual space called the Green Room, and we have a legacy product for those who intellectually and spiritually go where eagles dare, and that is in the Green Room with Dennis and Faisal. Now you're here in the Mental Dojo, but you've brought your green aura with you. So thanks for that. Faisal, you're a coach in training. What does that mean?
Coach in training means that I learn. Oh man, I'm trying not to go too deep from the beginning, but I learn as a coach now.
It's the reason that I asked you that question is because we've had conversations about what the Mental Dojo is. It's a space in which, we bring guys in who are looking to do everything from change their exercise schedule to get out of a crappy relationship and into a good one. I mean, there are a lot of different reasons guys come to men's life coaching, and not all of them are coming in realizing that at the core of what seems to be their inability to stick to a gym schedule or their inability to communicate in a healthy way with their girlfriend, wife, family, at the job, et cetera, et cetera. At the core, there's a universal problem that needs to be solved. And so you and I created an environment called In the Green Room that said, let's just get around all the superficial crap. And let's just do like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk and just go to outer space with this concept. Well, in this environment, we decided, this is going to be a user-friendly environment where some dude with a common problem, somebody types into Google, like, how do I stop worrying so much? How do I break sluggish fitness routines during COVID? These really just base entry level searches that guys do. And what we're hoping to do, this is just, marketing content aware of itself right now. What we're hoping to do is we're hoping to have guys show up and go, wow, what's this all about? So apparently there's this culture of dudes that's been growing because this one guy is a sort of story, and he comes from some crappy background or whatever, and is now coaching guys to help themselves using the system that he's created for himself. He acknowledges himself as a work in progress. He's bringing people along who so far have had success with his programming. And so now here's this guy Faisal, who is in Bahrain, which makes it even more interesting. The coach is obviously from the Northeast, circa 1970s through early 2000s, and is living in San Diego, California, and has this co-coach or coach in training that started out as a client who found him on a Google search from Bahrain over in the Middle East. That's a story in itself. And so that's kind of as crazy as it needs to get for the average guy, looking to, fold hospital corners on his bed sheets or, whatever it is, right? Just right there. They find this. So our idea is that they're going to find this. They'll have type, and this is going to be, the idea is that these are being uploaded to the YouTube channel. So right now, if you're watching this, theoretically, you found this on a Google search, right? And then you're going, okay, so far this is kind of interesting. Where are we going with this life coach? Okay, so where we're going is you're trying to solve a problem in your life. You're a guy. What do we mean when we say guy? We mean you're a dude. If you identify as a guy or a dude, you're probably in the right place. If you think of other dudes as your brothers, as your bros, my amigo, my compadre, you're probably in the right place. If you're intelligent, you're probably in the right place. If you're an overthinker and a worrier, doing your best dude crap to hide it, or not doing enough dude crap and feeling like a beta male and angry about it, you're in the right place. If you have a sort of, deep feeling that ultimately your spiritual direction is more important in many ways than your worldly direction, what you do over the next 100 years, but you're comfortable with your religion or comfortable not having a religion and are able to be open-minded about the idea that religiosity is a vehicle that we take to get to this perfect, optimal state of being. Mm-hmm. And if you're able to be inclusive rather than judgmental, you're probably in the right place. Mm-hmm. Does that sound right so far?
Yeah. The other day I was on a call with your other coach in training, and we were just talking about what got us to come to this coaching, to take up on this coaching experience. And we were just talking about how different his, what sold him and what sold me. I don't want to use the word sold, but let's just use it for now. Was so different because he came from a perspective of, man, this guy has a life that's way, like, he's been in way more trouble than I have, and he's got a life that I can't even,
Who's is this him speaking or you speaking right now?
Him speaking.
So about me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So in other words,
he knows how to turn things around.
So this guy, can we just call him Steve? Nobody has to know his last name. Okay. So Steve is a coach in training. He's just onboarded as a coach in training. He's accepted the responsibility. I connect him with you, a guy who's been working with me for quite a while now, and who I regard as sort of my spiritual seeing eye dog. So there's not this Batman and Robin dynamic, and I definitely don't want that to be the implication. You and I are equals in this dynamic. So just putting that out there. So along comes this guy, Steve, who is, I think, an intellectual phenom. Really just there's something that clicks when I interact with this guy, and as a creative, I really respond to this dude, and I think he's a good person. Like I trust him, you know.
Yeah.
So that's, and I think he's interested in coaching, and I think it might be his calling to coach, because even in the beginning, I was telling him, you strike me as more of a teacher. You strike me as more of an educator. You strike me as more of a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And just at a certain point, when I see the suggestions that he's making to me as a coach and a person, creating products like the Fireside Chat, where we all, speak, openly and candidly in a safe space, so to speak, like the man cave, the virtual man cave. Already he's got this like Jimmy Kimmel vibe where he just wants to like, how do we, let's play with this. What can we do with this? And I freaking love that energy. So you're saying that, so recently I knighted him, coach in training. You were there as the witness for that ceremonious affair.
Yeah.
And he's now coming to you saying, okay, show me the ropes. So that's the real dynamic. If we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it, right? So now you guys are having a conversation, and he's saying, so what was your experience? How did you first come to this phenomenon that is Denison Man Up Life Coaching? And where were you? Where are you now? And what's the story there, so that I can just download that? And he's also sharing his experiences so far. That's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So,
I mean, his perspective, and the thing that really interested him was that here's a guy who knows how to turn things around, and he's been in a much worse place, much, much, much worse place than I have. So that was his entry into this coaching dynamic. Mine was different, because mine was very existential. I wanted something that was holistic, but what I was searching for was how to man up, like manning up, the way we literally know what, the way we make sense of it in our, normal day-to-day vocabulary.
Yeah, man up.
Yeah. But when I looked it up and when I spoke to you, that's when I realized this is actually what I was searching for. So I was searching for something that was going to address my issues from a way bigger perspective than we normally look at. So it's not just, this is your problem, and here's the formula of how to solve it. And it's taking the approach of a bigger view of everything, and not only in the physical world, but also the spiritual, and finding that connection, which was ultimately what I needed. And so that was our discussion about, how he says we have a 4-quadrant system here, right? And I told him like how impressive that was to me from the beginning, how important that was to get me in. And he said, like, I didn't even care about the quadrant system. I cared about the story that this guy had. So it was interesting, an interesting conversation.
That's actually super interesting. So as you're saying this, I'm thinking about different people's responses to our initial phone call, so, not to turn this into an infomercial or whatever, but, when a guy is Googling, how do I, alternatives to throat punching my girlfriend, and he ends up here, he doesn't know what this is. And, he's kind of judging it first. And if there are no real major red flags, then he's kind of like, all right. But, it's, guy's not just going to get naked and dive in with his eyes closed. Typically, that's not what men do. He's going to approach with caution, especially the guys that are coming to this, because they're, there's a whole piece that we could do on being insecure and risk avoidant, and lethargic and depressive and judging and everything because of, because you're not doing what we do in the program, which is why we think it's a good idea to do the program. The moment a guy hears program, one of two things are going to happen. He might be somebody like you who says, oh, thank God, structure. I thought this was just going to be some jackass in a tinfoil hat, just espousing, whatever his personal cosmogony is that he's constructed over the years to help him cope. But bottom line is the dude's, a charismatic lunatic. Like, I want some structure. I want some scientific proof. I want something. And then you get another guy who comes in and says, oh my God, I thought you were cool when we were just talking man to man, but now you're trying to get me on this whole sort of, I see what this is. I love that one. I see what this is. I doubt you do, but I'm pretty sure I know what you think this is, that you've discovered that this is. Sure. You're thinking I'm somebody who's who's got some janky, sad version of, a Tony Robbins model or a Wim Hof model. I get it, and I'm trying to get you to join my cult and drink my Kool-Aid. Okay, that's what you think. But what's the truth, Faisal?
Well, the truth can only be experienced, and that's the challenge, because you want people to experience it and not...
Oh, that sounds like horse shit. That sounds like I paid you to say that.
It sounds like it, but what else can I say? Because my approach was that I will do the system and then decide whether or not it works. I just don't have any other way. Like, I can't just, and here's an important part, which is, like, I decided that I'm not the best person at the point I was in life to make decisions about what's right and what's not right. So I had to humble myself and say, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do whatever this guy tells me to do. And if it doesn't work, then I have proof that it doesn't work.
Right.
What other approach can I take?
But to be true to the experiment, I'm going to make sure that I do precisely what he says to do so that I can demonstrate scientifically there's no loophole. I did verbatim what I was asked to do, and the result didn't happen. So if somebody said, all right, so what is this magical programming? You say, whoa. The whole point of the mental dojo is just to pique their interest. You don't want to tip your hand too much. Well, screw that. I'm gonna say screw that. If you've watched so far, I'll give you the value, because you know why I'm not threatened by giving guys the program, because if they could do it on their own, I wouldn't have to bust your ass every week implementing these different strategies to get guys to stay on course. Right? I mean, it's like, oh no, that would be like a physical trainer saying, no, don't put my secret program for how to get ripped on the internet, because then everybody will just do it and they won't need a coach. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? So, I mean, let's just look at it. The quadrant thing. Without getting into it, you basically just draw 4 quadrants on a piece of paper. In the upper left, right, chest. In the lower left, right, exercise, diet, substances, and
organization.
In the upper right, meditation / prayer. In the lower right, validation.
I would write meditation / disarming the ego. I see it as a very practical thing to do.
I left that space blank to see if you would fill it. We're
Yeah.
speaking code a little bit here, but
yeah,
all right.
because yeah, but because
because
yeah,
because.
yeah,
So disarming the ego.
yeah.
Right. So code for what? What are they hiding? Man up and tell us everything. Ah, you hear it. You hear it in there. All right. All right. So basically, no matter what religion you come from, we're worried less about religious dogma and more about the effectiveness of your spiritual practice.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what spiritual practice you walk through the door wanting to practice, as long as it ends in the mastering and conquering your ego, then join us. If you don't have a pre-existing system, I can give you one. And it's not going to hurt too bad. And if there's something about it that you're not comfortable with, then I'll modify it to a certain extent for you. So there's that. And then lower, in the lower right, so upper right, we would say validation / prayer. Upper right, we would say program for mastering the ego.
Mm-hmm.
You cool with that?
Yeah. A meditation / prayer, not validation. Validation is now the next.
Sorry, meditation / prayer. And then lower right, we would say validation, practicing validation rather than judgment, which is like, yeah, oh, cat's out of the bag. Now they know the secret. Like, come on, that's a whole world, man. Forgiveness and all that.
Just try.
Yeah, oh, they're trying. That's why they need this.
You need constant framing and accountability. Man.
Yeah, man. And
we've all tried to do it on our own.
the relationship between faith and fear is a bitch, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that bitch is called the ego.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going too deep. All right, and then also in the other corner. So upper left, we're going to say chest. Lower right, we're going to say exercise, diet, substances / addictions, physical addictions, and personal organization. Upper right, we're going to say meditation / prayer. Upper right, we're going to say self-mastery and controlling the ego, or alternatives to the ego. And lower right, we're going to say validation rather than judgment. Lower right, we're going to say personal relationships, relationship with self, relationships with others. Basically, your worldly identification, your social identity, your worldly identity. And again, that sounds a little weird, but are you an introvert or an extrovert? Are you do you tend to have nice relationships with girls, or do you tend to have relationships with girls that go a little bit crazy? Do you have no girls in your life? Girls, right? Because that's who we deal with here.
Also, how much you're invested in your sad story.
Your personal narrative.
Personal narrative.
I would be careful not to even call it a sad story.
Well,
I would just say
that's a default, I think.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, your personal narrative. It is a default. If you're coming here, I promise your personal narrative is not a success story, because if it were, you wouldn't be coming here.
Yeah.
All right. So that having been said, how was your conversation with Steve?
Pretty good. I mean, we were just catching up, getting to know each other as coaches in training, and because we've always seen each other speak in fireside chats, but very seldom do we speak to each other face to face.
Correct.
So yeah, we were just catching up and talking about. He's very interested in culture, and particularly cultures that are not so familiar to him.
like
So
myself.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
So
he's a white guy who speaks Chinese or speaks Mandarin and lived in China and was actually on the comedian circuit in China. I
yeah,
mean, that's right there. That's set him aside as just sort of your average, white guy from California.
yeah,
So Steve's fun.
yeah.
Quick question: do you think that he's um, really? Do you think he's as interested in being a coach as he is in being a contributor to the cause that is the growth of the Man Up Life coaching community? I know it's weird that I'm asking that in a live thing, but I'm asking it just because, yeah, I guess, like if you're building a business, it's like, oh, this is what these guys talk about, like let's just screw it, let's just talk.
I think probably he's more interested in contribution, but I also think that that's a default because that's also the way I felt. And it has a lot to do with how we perceive ourselves and not wanting to be in that position of authority and of
Yes, it's the reluctant spiritual or intellectual alpha is what it is. I don't want to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. See, that's why you're here. Okay, let's move on. So a person gets on YouTube. They come here. And they have a burning question. Like, how do I save my marriage? How do I discipline myself to stop comfort eating in the middle of the night? What's this constant anger that I have, and how do I make it go away? I carry a personal narrative about having never been properly fathered. How do I finally put that to rest so I don't bring it into my 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? Right? So they look up these questions and they find Man Up Life Coaching. Right away you hear Man Up and you think, oh, what are you telling me? Are you calling me a beta male? Man up? Are you challenging me? Kinda, yeah. Because man up has two meanings. On one hand, it's saying stop being a baby. Take responsibility. On the other hand, it's saying man up, not man down. That's what the little symbol's all about. It's a little stick dude with an arrow going through it, and the arrow's pointing up. Man up. That's ascension. That's a good direction. Mm-hmm. And ascension, whether you are in this conversation with yourself or not, ascension is about a process that a lot of people might consider to be a spiritual process. So a guy who comes here says, what's the mental dojo anyway? What does that mean? Well, what is a dojo? I mean, really, what's a dojo? A dojo is it's a Japanese word, and it's basically a place to train, right? Mm-hmm. And it's Japanese, so it's a Zen-like place to train, right? Why mental rather than physical? Well, I'm not doing any high kicks right now, are you? Right? You practice Muay Thai. I come from a martial arts background. Martial arts / street fighting, background. But this isn't a place to get your body right. This is a place to get your mind right. Mm-hmm. And working with athletes, which I do, if your mind isn't right, fish rots from the head first, man.
Yeah.
Right? Did this programming and this process of going through coaching, did it affect your relationship to Muay Thai?
Interesting question. Because they were kind of happening simultaneously, I can't really say, but I do believe that it has some effect. Mm-hmm. And each has an effect on the other.
Exactly.
I definitely know that there was a point where I would have, like, I practiced Muay Thai on and off, so when I started practicing again was also when I started doing the programming. I know that there were points before I lost interest or gave up because of competitiveness, and said, it's enough for now. And then I joined again, wanting to, and I would just keep comparing myself to others who were much better than me at Muay Thai. That doesn't happen anymore. Mm-hmm. So definitely, there's definitely some of that going on. Both of these things affecting each other, the programming and the martial arts.
You've heard it a gazillion times, but there's no more perfect place to drop that little parable, is there?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about? Of the guy, the guy who is training an apprentice, and the master and student situation, and the master hands the student,
the line.
He draws a line in the sand, and he says, "This is my line." He hands it to the student, and he says, "Now use this stick to shorten my line, but you can't touch my line in any way." Mm-hmm. And the student is confused and doesn't know how to do it. And then the student grabs the master grabs the stick and draws a bigger line and says, "That's your line now. See, my line is shorter." Or some shit. I probably messed that up, but you get the idea. The idea is, don't try to shorten somebody else's line to seem bigger. Lengthen your own. And once you're in the process of lengthening your own line, you'll stop worrying about other guys' lines, and you'll look for people who specifically you can't beat, because it's an opportunity to learn the game and study the game. That's why I was watching the UFC 252, and I was thinking, I love when Dominic Cruz calls fights, because he's such a technique nerd. Mm-hmm. Which tells you a lot about his unorthodox style. His unorthodox style isn't, it's not that a guy said, "I'm going to do shit my way," instead of doing it the normal way. He did it the normal way first, and then said, "If I take the normal path, I get normal results." Or I could do what Bobby Fischer did and exploit a potential weakness, Bobby Fischer, the chess player, in the system itself. And that's what Dominic Cruz did. He invented a style that was, based on some things that he noticed about how other people fight traditionally. Mm-hmm. I think that being a technique nerd is kind of how I always approached Taekwondo. And even if I got into a street fight with somebody, once the emotions and the fear were all over, it was really just technique. Mm-hmm. And once you calm down and focus on technique, it's a fun game. Just like solving chess tactics problems to get better at finding tactics in chess, rather than sitting there the whole time thinking, "This guy thinks he's fucking better than me. God, I gotta find a way to beat him. If I could just get his queen," and all this emotional talk in your head, and comparing yourself to other people. Fuck their line. Mm-hmm. Make your line longer, right? I mean, and isn't that what this teaches you?
It is, but again, you can be told these things 1,000 times, but it has to be programmed into you, which is what the programming does. Because it's like I knew all of this from a long time ago.
That's why they call it a project. You reminded me of KRS-One going, the government put us in projects. That's why they call it a project. It's like, yes, it's a program.
Yeah. It's like TV.
It's like TV. It's a program. You're paying to. It's like all TV. You're paying to be programmed. They literally got you paying to program yourself with their. It's a different story. Don't get me into it. So anyway, yes, it's one thing to say I should lengthen my own line instead of attacking my opponents. But when a guy's hitting you in the frickin' bridge of the nose with his elbow, that's a different story. And you really do have to have been programming yourself for so long that it doesn't matter if you get hit in the bridge of the nose with an elbow, or clapped in the ear, or accidentally headbutted in the chin and it taps you for a second on a button, and now you're all mad, or now you're bleeding, or whatever. Like, wah, wah, wah. The whole point is, no matter what happens, your job is to just be in a neutral state and constantly adapting to the situation, thinking about a game plan, and listening carefully to any information you're getting from your coach, who has a global perspective.
Yeah.
And who's a good monitor for your position. Right?
And there's a lot of, it's very tempting to do the analysis on the process and say, here's what he's trying to do with me, but I think this approach is better. I find that doesn't help. I've done it, and now now that I'm a coach in training, I know people do it with me. But like I talked to you yesterday about this book I was reading, Mastery, which talks about apprenticeship and the mentor-mentee relationship, and how it's got really good examples of people like Leonardo da Vinci and a lot of really, really, really well-accomplished people who had masters. And they always took this approach of silently observing and just doing their job until they reached a point of mastery, and then did something with the method or found their own path or whatever. But that process of being silently observant and being very mechanical with the job was always there in all these cases.
I love, myself coming from an art background, I always love the anecdotal stories of Leonardo da Vinci, as an apprentice, and how quickly his hand became evident in paintings where he was asked to contribute an angel, and it would just shine, like it would stand out so incredibly, just because of he superseded what he was being taught by his master. Instead of imitating his master, he did what his master was teaching him to do, and he imitated life. And that's when the master says, crap, I gotta lengthen my line.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Yeah. And that's why, as a coach, I don't feel threatened having guys like you and Steve on board, but I definitely feel motivated because, for instance, he's a kid who speaks Chinese, Mandarin, lived over there or whatever, but I'm the one who introduced him to Weiqi, Go, Baduk, whatever you want to call it, the game we in the West call Go. And I've openly said, I'm a pretty solid club player. I'm maybe, at my best, I'll probably stay around 5Q. I'm certain in my lifetime that Steve will enter the Don levels.
Mm.
I just understand that. So when I gave him go, I felt like I was like introducing the Beatles to each other. Like, this isn't something I'm doing. I'm just a pawn in this larger game that we're playing. I don't feel threatened by that. LeBron's coaches aren't like, oh, he's better than me at basketball. You know what I mean? I'm a coach. What's my job? My job is to coach him to be a coach. How do I teach him to be a coach? I teach him to be a coach by teaching him to go through the process. It's a process that you're going through. You've gone through it a lot more than he has. And so there's this fantastic coaching ladder. So you say, okay, if it's a ladder, who's above you, Dennis? Who are you looking at for, tips on mastery? It comes in from all over the place. The truth is I go directly to the source. But when you go directly to the source sends you, that's what angels, quote unquote, are technically, right? They're good shadows, if you want to use the Aristotelian or Platonic rather, cave analogy, right? They're good shadows. Look, this shadow puppet is trying to help you to stop whacking out and to see the light that's creating the shadows. Get it? There we go. It's supposed to be a mental dojo, and we just went there. All right. But anyway, we always do. But anyway, when you're a coach who is teaching coaches, so basically I'm establishing a spiritual hierarchy by saying, for as brilliant as he is, Stephen can learn a thing or two from you, just as you continue to learn a thing or two from me. So if we follow this teaching model idea, and if I'm truly, humble and not just full of shit, then who's up the ladder from me? Who am I learning from? First of all, I learned from a lot from you guys. Mm-hmm. I'm always learning from you guys, man. When I see one of you guys doing something that's working, I'm like, whoop, gotta get some of that.
It turns into a collective.
Yeah, it's a collective. It's a hive mind. It's a collective intelligence. Yeah. Exactly. And then so once you understand that, then you start looking at people who sort of, quote unquote, these angels who sort of come into your world, whether it's, an Eckhart Tolle video, and the lesson is, damn, this dude's a little further along. You should really pay attention to him. And if you get a chance, go hang out with him. Mm-hmm. Right. Or whether it's an Elliot Hulse, where you say, damn, this dude's easy to judge. I think he reminds me of a lot of the stuff in myself that I'm, having a personal struggle with. You know what I mean? But that's still a teacher. Mm-hmm. That's a teaching situation. Mm-hmm. So I think that the coach becomes a little bit more abstract. The coach concept. I think it becomes sort of a coach entity that can take different physical forms or manifestations. Like when you use the Force, you might have Yoda pop up as a little spirit guy saying, go left or go right, or, push this button or that button, in any given situation. Or it might be Obi-Wan Kenobi or anybody else. That's the whole point. That the personification of the spiritual intelligence that connects us all, the highest mind that we aspire to. Mm-hmm. The personification is not as important as the message.
Yeah.
Which is why we say don't get caught up in the details. I don't want to know too much about you personally. I don't want to know too much about Steve personally. I don't want you guys to know too much about me personally. Yeah, we're friends on Facebook, but don't do that thing like, oh, I got this person figured out. Nah, you don't. You don't. You're writing a story for yourself. All right? You feel me on that?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
And the ego loves to look behind curtains. So it can say, oh, I know what that is. Oh, I got this guy figured out. No, all you're saying is that you've reinforced your model of how the universe is a concrete phenomenon. And if it's a concrete phenomenon, then there's no flexibility. And if there's no flexibility, then no wonder you're stuck. And since you're stuck, you get on there and you start Googling, how do I not throat punch my wife? And the next thing you know, you end up talking to a guy with a business called Man Up that's going to start you off by saying, well, first of all, when you're feeling frustrated with your wife, make sure you have open hands. This is called a quieting response. Go wash some dishes. Here's a book you can read. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Practice breathing. How's your workout regimen?
Yeah.
You know, you start there. But then as you go through the program, as you know, you're going to be training your brain with something like chess. You're going to be working on your diet and your exercise. And that's going to make you feel good about yourself. You're going to be working on getting your personal organization under control so that it's at least, even if you're not doing the crap you're supposed to, at least you're putting it on your freaking calendar and staying on top of it. And if it's bugging you that, you know, you keep making plans and then lying to yourself and not doing them, okay, we'll talk about that. You know, meditate means just that. It means go sit somewhere and shut the fuck up. Go unplug and look at a wall for 30 minutes to an hour a day. I don't know why that's so hard for people. You don't have the time? Yeah, you do. You could literally pretend you're taking a shit for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Nobody would stop you.
Which people probably would.
Right. But my point is, don't say that you can't meditate. You won't. Right?
It's the antithesis of instant gratification, and that's what makes it so hard to develop as a practice.
And that's why you need a program.
Yep.
Right? I remember the first time I sat down and said, I'm going to meditate with a capital M. It's like, this is fucking stupid. How much longer when does the thing happen that justifies why I'm sitting here? It's been like 20
minutes. And then we
minutes.
start analyzing the meditation. Like, I'm not supposed to be thinking. But here I'm thinking about not supposed to be thinking.
Which means the meditation thing hasn't even started yet.
Yeah,
I haven't even left the
I'm not
lot.
the kind of person who, like, I'm not the meditation kind of person.
All that shit, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what did we learn in this topic of the mental dojo? We learned that there are two guys named Dennis and Faisal, and they're a part of an organization called the Man Up Life Coaching, whatever it is. And apparently there are other guys in it, and they have some views that might or might not sound interesting. And if you're interested in more of whatever the hell they're talking about, you should probably follow or subscribe or whatever at the end of the, right, when we deuce out and say see you later, you should probably hit like.
Yeah.
Because we didn't say anything that's going to make you look stupid for hitting like. Don't worry, nobody's going to judge you, you know. So you could hit like, it's okay. You could hit subscribe or follow, because then you'll get like, oh, these guys again. Let's see what the hell they're talking about now. Oh, it's just the dude, the green freaking other guy isn't there. You know. But you're always invited. You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is always a good time. We'll have to get Steven here at some point too, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So what did we learn? We learned that these guys are here, and apparently they're part of a culture that's for male wellness and betterment, and that we're doing these regular things in a space called the Mental Dojo, and that we're talking about solving regular male problems. What regular male problem did we solve or discuss here today? If you had to put it into if you had to condense it into a title, what would it be?
Just learning, I think. If I would condense it into one thing, it would be.
Okay, so if I had to give it a slightly sexier title, man sexy, like learning trucks, tires, boobs. I need something that's gonna sell, man. Come on, give me something. Learning. No guy said, "Oh, I'm gonna learn." Oh, this is nice radio silence. Should I do like a little song or something while you think?
How to turn into a machine or something? I don't know.
Okay, so two coaches discuss the importance of routine, meditation,
Mentorship.
discuss the importance of mentorship. Two coaches discuss the discuss male mentorship and self-discipline. I think that works.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we did. We're two coaches. We discussed male mentorship. We talked about self-discipline. Got a little wacky, but not terrible. And now you're going to go to the Bahraini DMV.
Yeah.
How long did we go? Tell me it wasn't an hour. We
I think it was an hour, or just under an hour.
Oh my God, we always go for too long. Okay. Well, on that note, I'm going to say goodbye to them, and then just stick around, you and me, and we could talk our way off stage. All right. Mm-hmm. So stop live stream, and we're going to stop recording now. So see you later, fellas. Say bye, Faisal.
Bye.
Okay. Well, guys, thanks for stopping by. It's time to shut down the Mental Dojo, throw the chains on the doors, lock the padlock, and get the hell out of here. But before I do that, would you do me a favor and hit like? I would appreciate that. And also, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, if you're feeling what I'm doing here, if you're smelling what I'm stepping in, go ahead and hit subscribe so that we can do this again, because the man cave just isn't the same when you're not here, man. And I mean that. Thanks for coming by. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.